I hadn't been to Divine Liturgy of the Orthodox Church in quite some time. Many months, I'm not sure, I lost count. But eventually I returned on, I think it was February. And it was a Sunday morning. And I went with my wife. I went to St. Spiritum, which was the church I was baptized in decades ago. And it started off pretty normal, as most divine liturgies do. And I started taking in the sights around me, like the icons and the architecture and just the overall aesthetic of the church. I started to admire the beauty of my surroundings and really breathing the incense in quite deeply, which is not something I would usually do because I tend to be caught up in my own head most of the time. But I guess this time was a bit different. And I started thinking to myself that I really missed being here. And I guess I felt like a sort of peace, which is something I don't really have very often. And then as the liturgy continued, I started looking around at the rest of the people in the church, and I caught myself silently judging most of them, maybe for the way they dressed, their clothing, not being serious or reverent enough. And then I had a moment of clarity where I realized I'm deeply ashamed of many things in my life, my nearly 33 years of being alive. And I kind of caught myself and said, you know, who are you to judge anyone here? For all you know, they may have kinder, purer hearts than yourself. And in truth, that's probably the accurate assessment. So then I sort of began to realise that I was harshly and unfairly judging those around me without knowing anything about them. So I was, I guess you could say I was acting like a Pharisee. And then I began to pray silently to myself. I said the Jesus prayer. And I guess with this deeper sincerity and authenticity, I started praying for the people around me, and praying for the whole world and for God to have mercy on everyone, even those who don't believe. And then I continued this for a little while, and then I looked to the front, and there'd been this table at the front of the church for throughout the whole mass. And there's a small wooden cross, maybe not sure how many inches, but it wasn't big, but it wasn't tiny either. And it was just made of plain basic wood. There was nothing remarkable about it. I didn't think much of it. I'd probably seen it before and never took any notice. And I turned my attention to it again later, and I noticed that it began glowing with this brilliant light, like very yellow, very bright, very intense. This radiance. And the light just didn't seem like anything I'd seen before. It was very thick and tangible, like you could reach out and grab it. And it was morphing and changing. It almost looked as if the cross itself was like if the light had become any thicker, it would have started dripping or pouring onto the table. I don't really have the words for it, but at the time I didn't think too much of it, but I was staring at it for a while, and I began to think to myself how beautiful it was, and I was thinking, wow, there's really a lot of beauty in this place that I'd never never seen before. So this light continued morphing and glowing for a while, maybe 5 minutes, I'm not really sure. I was staring at it. And then I started thinking to myself, I don't know what this is. What am I seeing? I don't understand what this is. I tried to figure it out intellectually, but I guess I just couldn't. And then I can't really remember what happened, or maybe I got distracted or I looked away, and then suddenly it had stopped, and then it returned to just plain wood. There was nothing strange about it. And then the liturgy had finished, and I came to the front to collect bread from the priest, but I'd have to walk past the table to get to him. So as I passed the table, I looked at the cross and examined it, and I was actually thinking, wow, maybe they put wires or LED lights or something on it. But I did think that even if that were the case, that's not what it looked like. It didn't look anything like regular light at all. But yeah, I couldn't see anything on it. It was just very basic, very plain and normal. And then I didn't think much of it for the rest of the day until the next morning. I started pondering on it again, wondering what I saw. And then I guess like a wave of images hit my mind, and I remembered that I'd seen this before. I'd seen this in icons, I'd seen it in these images on the internet that are called the Uncreated light, or Tabor light. And it kind of reminded me of the light that gets mentioned when people have out-of-body or near-death experiences. And then I'm not sure why, but I had this great flood of emotions and even denial. I couldn't believe what I'd witnessed. But the rational part of me was wondering, maybe there's an explanation. So I texted my wife and I asked her several times, did you see the light? Did you see the cross? Do you remember yesterday? And she said she remembered the cross, but she didn't see anything. She didn't see any light or nothing. Nothing remarkable about it at all. Totally ordinary. And then I kept thinking about it as I'm going through all these emotions, this roller coaster of sensations, and then the realization came over me that I had actually seen uncreated light. And as I began to fully realize what I'd seen, I started shaking. My whole body was shaking, and I'd become overcome with emotions, and there was just tears pouring out of my eyes, like uncontrollably. I had to fight to compose myself, and I'm not. So I think, I know there's people that won't believe me, or people that think I'm making it up, or I hallucinated, or whatever reductionist explanation people will come up with. But I think those who have seen these sort of things in their own life, that had these own personal experiences, whether it's an out-of-body or a near-death experience, can relate to this. So yeah, that was my experience, seeing the uncreated light. And I guess it kind of makes me think of the story of the burning bush, when Moses sees the burning bush and God is there, and it's like God is really making himself known, and he's saying, "Here I am." And but the thing that really made the story interesting, or what happened made it so interesting, was that on that day, the homily in church was the Pharisee and the publican. So it seems more than a coincidence to me that I came into church as the publican. I came into the church as the Pharisee, but I left as the publican. Originally, I wanted to make this video, I wanted to read this video out like a script, but I did try that and it didn't sound right. Probably the way I speak is not as neat and tidy as it would have been if I had used a script. But I really believe that it would be better that I genuinely speak from my own memory. It was a very real and authentic experience. So I supposed that it would be better that I speak sincerely from my own memory, rather than compiling a script just for the sake of a YouTube video.